ready for another lesson?
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Back Row Banter, your favorite casual movie talk podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Adam Schwartz, and on today's episode, we'll be talking about Creed, your favorite ending of a trilogy, Creed 3. But before we get to any of that, I'm joined today, of course, by Knockout Nathaniel Gingrich.
Hey, what's up? I'm Knockout Nathaniel. I don't know why I started with his accent, and I'm quickly dropping it.
Is this your fighter persona?
Yeah.
That's what you sound like in the ring?
Yeah, and the other thing is I also spell knockout with an N instead of a K.
Okay.
Too, just because.
Just for like alliteration
and I've lost brain cells too, you know.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Some CTE, early onset CTE.
Yeah. Well, I knocked out the K, and that was it.
Oh, I see. All right. Cool. Is that your little title card nickname?
Oh, if
Knockout?
it was like my actual like a
Yeah,
fighter
what would your little title card name be? I guess we can go around the horn here.
I don't even know. That'd be
I
a
think
good one.
The ones in the movies are pretty good. Pretty Ricky Conlon.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's got a good ring to it. Diamond Dame Anderson.
I could just Night Owl. Night Owl would be an easy one. Night Owl Nathaniel. I like it because Nathaniel's so long, anyways. I don't know. Maybe
might as well make it longer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just truly annoying. I don't know. I feel like those nicknames feel like they got to be earned. They got to show up in the gym somehow. You can't just pick your own.
It's similar to the call sign. The call sign from Top Gun. Like you can't just give it to yourself, you know.
But yeah, there's some good ones out there. The UFC is notorious for them. There's one guy that's
Do they?
Yeah, Tim the Dirty Bird Means. That's one of my favorite ones. Just there's one guy that was just Old Shoeface. That was a great one too.
I remember telling me about that one.
Yeah. There's some great nicknames out there.
Nathaniel, do you think at any point we get a UFC style movie in line with like a Creed?
There's Warrior. Warriors already out there.
Oh, okay. And wait, oh no, you know what? Also, I saw this popping up all over my feed. Jake Gyllenhaal filmed his film at the UFC fight over the weekend, right?
That is true. They are doing a Roadhouse remake, which believe stars Jake Gyllenhaal as a former UFC fighter, or that seems to be at least a plot line that is going on at some point in there.
Roadhouse.
Gotcha. I don't know what Roadhouse is.
Well, bit of sizzle. I'll be talking about it on what we've been watching this week, so don't you worry.
All right. Well, also joining us today, of course, is Tied Up Ty, Tyler Verdalis. He tied him up.
Tie him up.
Tie him up. Tie him up. Tie him up.
Pop, pass. Stick with him.
Cinderella Man.
Yep. There's a Best Buy deep cut for you folks out there.
Classic.
There'll be 3 people that will listen to this podcast and know what that is.
Cinderella Man, isn't that a boxing movie?
Yeah, but it was one of the audio demos that used to play on the
yeah. Now I remember. I was like pop pass or whatever the hell you just said.
Yeah.
I just kind of
pop pass.
Something.
Stick with him.
Yeah.
Where you at, Jimmy Brand? It's Paul Giamatti.
Now I know the exact demo that. Paul Dano or not Paul Giamatti.
Yeah, Paul Giamatti.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where you been, Jimmy Brand?
Yeah, that's so funny. Cinderella Man, also a underrated Eminem song.
Oh wow, yeah, okay. I was gonna tell you, I was fully gearing up to like be coming in behind you for like a Cinderella Man underrated or forgotten boxing movie, but then you swerved into Eminem track, and I lost my whole train of thought that I was going for.
Yeah, it just it kind of T-boned you.
Yeah,
we're expecting.
Yeah, you rug pulled me.
Well, I'm sorry to do so, but it's a great track. That's a great album too.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Rounding out the squadron, of course, is big boxer BlakeHolder.
Hey, what's going on,
What
fellas?
if what if your title in the card name like was just boxer?
Blake the
So-
boxer, Blake.
So funny story with that. Obviously, you all know me as a cat person, but I grew up with dogs.
Yes,
I
true.
grew up with a dog. The
Mhm.
dog I had was a boxer. So boxers are actually my favorite dog breed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I
My
actually saw one yesterday walking to the grocery store.
growing
You
up,
saw a boxer?
Nice.
The dog.
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
I saw a physical boxer, although I may have seen one at the gym today, but couldn't tell you if he was pro or not. But he was on the bags. He was putting
Was
some
he?
work in.
There you go.
growing up, I had family friends that had a dog who was a boxer whose name was Drago, named after
Oh, awesome.
the Rocky
Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And
That's a good
my
name.
dogs-
Yeah. Drago is such a good like boxing villain like name. Like
For
in Creed
sure.
2, which you know,
Absolutely.
I did get to before watching Creed 3.
Yeah.
Like when they introduced him, I'm like, God, Victor and Ivan Drago, like Jesus Christ, that's straight out of Harry Potter. Like that's just a fiction.
Some good.
Like that's
Good stuff.
dream
He
villain
dies, he
name.
dies.
If he
Yeah.
dies, he dies.
God damn. Guys, I've been thinking about this recently. With how the internet is today, could you build a house with just using the internet?
Absolutely.
Oh, like could I look
like,
it up?
Like, could you physically, like, could you look up? And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. You know, I don't
Are
even
you
know if I need.
asking me as in like BlakeHolder, or like you as in like
Yeah,
the app? No chance in hell I can. But
You
like, I
don't think you could?
anybody who's no, I'm not handy at all. But like, I think Tyler could.
but like I know Tyler. Yeah, I knew kind of Tyler's answer to this question before I even asked it.
Right.
Thanks, Dad.
but I also don't know, but I feel like I could get like 4 walls and a roof with what the internet will tell me today. I don't know. I feel like I could get it done.
Yeah. It'd be fucking tough, man.
You asked me to put in plumbing. Okay, we're having a problem. But
Yeah.
you know, if I'm just looking to build shelter, I think with the internet I could do it. Nothing fancy, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't. Over under. I'm betting the under on me. fellas.
Okay.
Here's where I reveal that I was a Boy Scout, and I made it to
Yes.
Eagle Scout, and
Yes.
I think I pretty much could. You could drop me somewhere in the wilderness, and I would be able to make shelter or enough that I could survive for a while, that kind of thing. With the internet, I reckon I could knock up something pretty good. Be all right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking too. I feel like at this point, like you can do anything with the internet here. You know, like
I think there's probably a book in
just
my house
about
right now that's
tutorials for
probably
everything.
I could just
What'd you say?
read that too. Like I reckon
a what?
I probably got something lying around here in book form that would probably have something to build some sort of
True.
structure.
Yeah.
It helps that I was in a woods class and building trades in high school.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
We already
Man.
established, Tyler. We already established.
Yeah, that's honestly great for you too. For Nathaniel to say you can be dropped off somewhere. Like if I'm dropped somewhere, I got about
dead.
72 hours, fellas.
I'm dead. Yeah. Whenever you die of starvation or thirst, like that's how long I have.
Absolutely.
Nah, I'll be all
Because
right.
I don't even know. I mean, I could find the water, but
I
don't
can't
know.
even start a
And
fire.
don't you have to clean it?
You do.
Yeah, I
I
don't know how to do that.
typically you want to boil it, but there are ways to filter it without boiling it.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you. Could you start a fire, Adam? With like wood?
I think I could. Honestly, I think I might be able to, but
Yeah.
I'm not super confident. Like I understand the concept,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if I can put it into practice properly. You know, I think I
Mhm.
could get maybe close. I think, if someone saw me trying to start a fire, they'd kind of think I'm on the right track. But I don't know if I could actually get there, you know?
If it was life or death, you'd sure shit try.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
sure
for
should try. If I
Figuring
had
it
72
out.
hours to either build a fire or die, like I'd probably get it. I'd probably get it done. All right, fellas. Well, let's get on into the pod here. We'll just go straight to what we're watching. Not much news. Not
trying
that
to
we even
think.
cover
Was
much anymore.
I was
There's
gonna say,
not.
was there any big news stories that were kind of came out over the
Well,
weekend?
the other thing that I haven't brought up that I've kind of wanted to mention to you guys, actually, if we want to talk about this quick, is the whole password sharing thing with Netflix that's kind of coming to an end soon.
Boo.
Yeah, you guys saw that they're kind of they're
Fuck
going to start
Netflix.
rolling that out. I think this month at some point.
Last I had heard they tried, or they just said they were gonna do it in other countries still.
That's the last thing I heard.
Oh,
of
okay.
it.
Yeah. I think the internet made enough of an uproar that they've
Yeah.
reconsidered on
Good.
some of those things. But
Well, I genuinely think they would lose money because I
Oh,
just
My
don't
subscription's
think.
gone. If
yeah,
they do that, I'm not paying.
Yeah,
for
I'm not. I mean, I'm not gonna renew my I'm not gonna go and pay for my own Netflix subscription. I have no reason to. They don't have enough on there that's keeping me there.
yeah, I agree.
I don't currently pay for mine, but
I don't either. That's the thing.
when you do sign up for T-Mobile, this isn't a plug either.
It's biased
It's
as
just
fuck.
news.
They actually pay for your Netflix. So if I do get booted off, I at least have that to fall back on.
Yeah.
That is nice.
See, with AT&T, they're supposed to pay for like my HBO Max, but like
Yeah.
my fucking login never works. So whatever you got going on AT&T, please fix it.
Yeah, figure it the fuck out. Fit
Come
fell.
see me, Blake.
It's
Might have to,
probably
man.
probably not a
You-
thing since they sold HBO Max to Discovery or whatever, and it's not owned by Time Warner anymore, which would be what owns AT&T too. I don't know. I'm just talking shit. I have no
I'm
idea.
spitballing.
I'm spitballing,
Yeah.
guys.
So
They don't
also
care.
not another plug, but not only do we pay for your Netflix, we also pay for Paramount Plus for a year and Apple
This
TV.
is sure starting to feel like a plug.
Hashtag ad. Hashtag.
And you know what?
partner.
We're not even getting paid, Ty. You are, but we are not.
I mean, I'm always on the clock.
It's the unfortunate truth about being a salaried employee, huh?
El Trabajo, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Netflix seems to be making weird decisions consistently right now, anyways. And a lot of the streaming services are, and a lot of just tech companies are in general. Because I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems to be that the internet is bad. And people have kind of realized that.
This is the way.
As I say on a podcast that's being distributed on the internet, but you know,
Yeah, we love the internet.
yeah, we love it
But,
and all of you listeners, but maybe it's not good. We know everything all the time, everywhere.
Everywhere, everything, all of the time.
Yeah.
Or no, anything and everything all the time. Yeah, anything and everything.
Where, all at once, in my brain. Where's it at? It's here, right now, in front of my eyes, on a screen.
Okay, Nathaniel, what'd you watch this past week?
Well, let me tell you, I did a little bit of reading too.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying that.
Yeah, I did some watching with my eyes on a page. So I got to a comic that actually Brandon was reading. For those of you,
Front of the pod.
yeah,
Brandon Wozny.
he was reading a new book called Die, which is
interesting.
Yeah, it's a it's set in a world where there's a group of friends in the 80s, and another one of their friends says, I have a Dungeons and Dragons like game that they're all going to play, and they all play it one night, and they all disappear. They get Jumanji'd, and they come back to...
I love a good Jumanji.
Yeah, jump cut to 2 years later, and they show up again on like a road, and like one of them is like missing an arm, and like they're obviously 2 years older, but they've been through the shit, and yeah, it turns out that maybe the game is obviously real and has actual consequences and all of that kind of stuff. So it's been pretty interesting so far.
Wait, so does the book follow them into the game, or is it like when they come back?
So it is when they come back, and then minor spoilers, I guess, like still the premise, they eventually do go back into the game, and that's where you start kind of like picking back
you lost
up
me
with
for
them.
A second there. I was
yeah.
Like, huh?
So
why would they
yeah, some of it
it's a boring ass book.
It is a comic, or it was originally a comic book. It's a graphic novel, and like it was like a Kickstarter kind of thing, and has been going on, and like it's gotten a lot bigger, and they're like trying to make like actual tabletop versions of the game Die now and that kind of thing.
Cool.
But yeah, it's been really interesting so far. It is kind of like it's a interesting story, one that's pretty easy to get into, but it does sometimes fall into that kind of like we want to be gritty and real and like and that kind of thing occasionally. Yeah. But so far it's pretty good. I've been enjoying it. The other thing actually that I've been reading was a Christmas present to me from Woz, which is the series Pluto, which is a retelling of Astro Boy. But so far, I'm not that familiar with Astro Boy. But so far, what I can tell you is it is a mystery, or it's like a whodunit set in a world where like robots are. It's kind of like the Blade Runner universe where they're just kind of around and they're like used in certain roles or anything like that. But there's 7 really advanced ones that are like that could be like planet altering, and someone is going around and killing those 7 robots. And one of the 7 is like a police robot, and he's investigating the murders. And so it's told from his perspective as he's trying to figure out who was killing all these 7 super advanced robots. So
because he's also on the list.
Yeah, he's also on the list. And then Astro Boy, who's cool, like the most advanced one, is virtually human and is basically like a little boy. So it's kind of like a thing of like, well, you kind of want to protect this kid as well too and stuff. So it's been really good. Yeah. It's really cool, and I'm enjoying it a lot. Would recommend. And like I want to say Astro Boy, like I said, I'm not that familiar with it, but I do just know it as like a legendary series. Maybe Tyler needs to back me up a little bit more here as well too. I'm sure he's encountered it, but I want to say it was around in like the 50s. It's one of like the original, or like one of the
Astro Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty old, but it's got quite a few adaptations.
Yeah, there's multiple incarnations of it, from what I understand. But yeah, would recommend the Pluto version if anyone has any interest in that at some point. In terms of watching, go ahead. Sorry.
What is the? I don't know if you already explained this. What is the difference between the regular version and the Pluto version?
Oh, so like from what I understand, Astro Boy itself as a series like centers on Adam as the main character. And this is more the investigation into these robots. So I don't know if this is like a storyline that is like has been redone a couple different times, or it's from a different perspective or whatever. And like Tyler said, I want to say like the character itself has been around since like the 50s or something like that. And there have been
1963.
There you go. And there's been multiple kind of incarnations of it as a series or anything. And I think this is one of the storylines or something like that, but it's slightly different. Woz explained it to me. I doing a poor job of retelling it now. Maybe he'll email in and we can talk about it on the podcast again at some point.
That sounds like a great idea.
But yeah. So in terms of what I've been watching, though, I got to Creed 1 and I got to Creed 2. I'm sure that might also be echoed around the other members of the podcast this week. So
we'll see.
Yeah, Creed's amazing. The fact that Sylvester Stallone didn't win an Oscar for that performance still bugs me to this day.
Yeah,
he is truly incredible in the first 2 of these. I think I like Creed 1 slightly better than Creed 2, I would think. And I think Stallone's a little bit better in Creed 1. But yeah, great movie. Creed 2 is also really good. It's just doesn't quite have the same impact, I feel like. I don't know. And there's also something about like the final fight. I just don't think it's quite as directed quite as well as the first one is, which the first one is Ryan Coogler. So, you know, that's a big ask. He's really talented.
And who did the second one again?
His name, I remember I looked it up the other day. Hold on.
Yeah, me too. Because it's not Ryan Coogler. It's
Steve Capel Jr.
Yeah.
And I think his next thing is gonna be the Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, I think is his next thing. But yeah, also a young black director, also very, very talented as well too. Did a really good job with it. But then yeah, obviously the third thing I got to was Creed 3, directed by Michael B. Jordan, but we'll be talking about that as well too. And the other thing I got to was Roadhouse, yes, was actually my first viewing of it, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I was excited. I'm excited to tell you that, Tyler, and talk to you about this because this was another one of those quintessential older brother movies for me, kind of like growing up, of like you hear about on the playground or something like that, you know. It's wild still, and it's so sprawling too. Like I started like because obviously after I watched it, I immediately like looked it up on the IMDb page or something like that, and it said that like in the trivia they were talking about that originally it was like 3.5 hours long. And I was like, I can totally see that because there's so many weird storylines that like don't quite line up with everything else. Anyways, I'm doing a poor job of explaining it for anyone who doesn't know who it is, but Roadhouse came out in 1989. It stars Patrick Swayze at the height of his Swayze powers, and he plays a bouncer who is famous enough that he kind of travels the country cleaning up different rough and rowdy bars. And the main storyline is he moves to a new bar in Kansas that he's slowly turning around, and he runs afoul of the local liquor baron, and he needs to both fight and philosophize his way out of it, you know. And it is really something else. It's pretty incredible. And it's just this weird pulp actiony 80s movie that doesn't really exist anymore, and is like almost this like satire of masculinity, and just really strange subculture of bouncers. But yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. It's always cool to see Patrick Swayze. He is the man, and
in the peak.
yeah, I mean, he is truly peak
Swayze.
Swayze. We get peak Sam Elliott here as well too. I'm gonna say,
Ooh,
he's greasy haired, mustacheless Sam Elliott, by the way. But yeah, and they're just
you want to see that now.
they're
I
just
need the
out
mustache.
there throwing roundhouse kicks and boots to guys' faces, and you know, so many guys they like throw one punch and then like they overextend, and Patrick Swayze like kind of grabs them behind the head and, you know, smashes their head against a bar stool or like a table or something like
Love
that,
it,
you know.
love it.
Yeah, that classic move. There's a really good kind of side relationship that Swayze's character Dalton has with the blind lead singer of the band in this like other bar that he has, that he just kind of knows from other bars that have been around, and he just kind of like is a random source of information. He just like hears things on the street and stuff. It's a strange movie, but I really enjoyed it. Where is it? It was streaming somewhere. It's on Amazon Prime if you want to watch it. I assume Papa Schwartz has to have heard of Roadhouse, or
I couldn't tell you. That's a
Has to.
question you'd have to ask.
Yeah.
Ask him directly.
But yeah, there will definitely be a lot of 30 to 40-year-old dads out there that know what I'm talking about Roadhouse as well too.
Mhm.
And obviously it is being remade with Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor, weirdly too. But yeah. Have you ever seen it, Blake?
No, I have not. I'm not even familiar with it, man.
Oh yeah, it is truly special. I suggest both of you looking up a trailer for it after the pod and
Okay,
and texting the group chat your thoughts.
that's fair.
Okay. Yeah, I got you.
But yeah, that is what I have been watching. I will kick it on over to, let's go to Blake. You been up to anything interesting this week?
Honestly, pretty similar to what you had here. Pulling up my Letterboxd on my phone, but yeah, off the top, Creed 1 and 2, and 3 for the podcast. Nathaniel shot us a text. It might have been like on Wednesday or something. Like, oh man, I forgot how good the first Creed was. Then I was like, let me go ahead and watch both of those before I dive into Creed 3. And
Yeah.
the first movie, I'm with him. Ryan Coogler's direction is awesome. Tessa Thompson's great. Sylvester Stallone, Michael B. Jordan. All those films have they're just good. I like the first one using like real boxers, right? That's kind of like an underrated part of the first one that a lot of people don't really pick up the first time unless you're just kind of into the fighting sports. But yeah, Ryan Coogler's directing is awesome. The first Creed is, in my opinion, head and shoulders above the other two. The first Creed's a really
Bit of
good
sizzle.
film.
Bit of sizzle.
Yeah, but yeah, overall good. Totally forgot all three of those have my man Wood Harris.
I was just gonna
totally forgot.
Yeah.
Totally forgot about that when he was the traitor. I was like, oh shit.
Yvonne Barksdale made a switch.
For sure. Yep. First thing I thought of. First thing. And he's also in Paid in Full.
Yes,
and
of
Blade
course.
Runner
Are we talking
2049.
about? Are we talking about Duke?
Yeah, Little Duke.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Little Duke.
Yeah, that guy's like quietly one of my favorite actors of all time. So
I
yeah,
got
shout
you,
out
I
Wood
got you.
Harris. But yeah, awesome. Nonetheless, all three Creeds. Second one's pretty good. Bringing back Drago and his son and kind of that upbringing. It still holds well. It's tough because it's a predecessor right after Ryan Coogler's film, and you can kind of see it's not quite there. But still, overall, pretty good. As well as a third one, I'll share my thoughts on that. Outside of that, I got to another boxing film. I watched Southpaw.
Nice.
When I was like, what else can I get to? Jake Gyllenhaal on there, and that was actually off me seeing the kind of the quick, I don't know what you want to call it, not press run, but I guess they were actually filming of the Jake Gyllenhaal, the UFC movie that we were talking about earlier. Then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and watch Southpaw. And funny enough, it was on Netflix. So that was the first time I opened Netflix in a while. And that's that's an
And the
Antoine
last time Netflix,
Fuqua.
suck it.
Man, yeah, that's an Antoine Fuqua film. Second one he's had with Jake Gyllenhaal, because he also did, can't even think of it off the top of my head, but it's one where he's sitting at a fucking desk taking calls the entire time.
Yeah, those are
pretty good movie.
The one that came out like last year,
Yeah, it might be
where he's the
2021.
911 operator.
Yeah, I can't think of what it's called, but
Yeah,
it
it's on
was
Netflix
okay
as well,
That's
right?
yeah. This is their first one. Southpaw's their first one together, and honestly, not that bad. I mean, I liked it at first. This is my second watch of that now. What, 7-8 years later?
Who plays the love interest in that?
What's her name? Rachel Adams.
Rachel McAdams? Is that who it is?
That's who it is.
Yeah, okay.
From like
That's
Notebook.
who it is.
Yeah. From The Notebook and Doctor Strange.
But she's
Yeah, that's all she's known for.
yeah, she's short.
Her career
she's
stops
short-lived
there.
in that film.
That's right, because yes, okay, I remember the plot to Southpaw now. Yeah, that was also another one in the era of like, we need to make this as gritty as possible to sell.
It's a dark movie,
so
for sure.
real,
Dark
like
movie.
yeah.
Hard to root for Jake Gyllenhaal,
Right.
aka Billy Hope. But yeah, overall good. After watching that, behind the three Creeds, it was kind of like, ooh, it's definitely not as good as the first Creed. The
Yeah,
first Creed's
yeah,
fucking awesome. But still holds well. And that's all I got to. Handful of sports. Been watching some NBA basketball. Was gonna try to go to the Bulls game last Friday. They were playing the Suns.
Oh.
I was gonna try to do that, but thought we were gonna get a huge snowstorm. So me and my buddies kind of called it quits on that, and sure enough, we got no snow. So
Love that.
There
life.
it goes.
But we'll pass it over to we'll go Ty.
Hello.
Hello.
Been getting around to my uses. Naruto still killing the game. Love it. Will and
Is it?
Grace. Yeah, it is. Will and Grace has also been on the telly. And then I did get around to The Last of Us. Adam, where are you at?
Still haven't watched since episode 5. So
You're
it's like
trash.
6, 7,
Get him
8.
out of here.
I'm sorry. At least I'm not Nathaniel and haven't fucking watched any of it.
That is right. I am still a
Yeah.
Last of Us. I'm uninfected, as it was.
No, I had time this weekend to watch things, but I watched Creed 1 and 2 instead.
Okay.
And another film that I had to watch for school, but I'll get to that. But
Okay,
yeah, I will get. I plan on getting to those episodes before the finale on Sunday. I really want to.
Bet. I also got around to Mandalorian episode 1, season 3.
Yes, I watched that as well too. That was not on my list, but I did watch that.
How forgetful of you.
Well, it was not the most memorable episode if you watched Book of Boba, I feel like. Not a ton of new information revealed.
Yeah, I don't think they were.
It was kind
trying
of
to necessarily. I think they were just trying to kind of ease back into it and kind of give everybody a lay of the land.
I think you're correct. Yeah, I think it was very much a hey, we've been off for 2 years. Here's kind of where we're back or what we're up to. With old Mando.
Yep. So that was good. I'm glad that's back on. It'll give me something to do after The Last of Us is done. And then the other thing I got around to was the Bahrain Grand Prix. F1 is back, ladies and gentlemen. Kiss my ass.
I did watch that as well.
How about them race cars?
Because we were talking about it. Actually, I also watched the UFC. John Jones was back this weekend. It was a big combat sports weekend in general.
It was.
On that side of things. Yeah, John Jones, now the UFC heavyweight champion. Something he has in common with Creed.
You have to say of the world. If there's one thing I've learned from Creed, it's the heavyweight champion of the world.
That is true, which is also something in Creed as well. He definitely starts as light heavyweight in the first one, which, if you follow boxing, is about 175 pounds. Then he fights for the heavyweight in the second and third one, which is a lot heavier than that.
He's not gained that much.
The difference between Canelo and Tyson Fury. Slightly different humans.
Slightly, yeah. But hey,
they both look like shit brick houses, though.
You're not wrong. Wrong.
No, for sure. Yeah.
I don't think I could look like either one of them on my best day.
Yeah, but my point is, Canelo's I think like 5'9", and Tyson Fury's 6'5".
And speaking of Canelo, he also makes
he does appear in this,
in Creed 3 or Cathreed, whatever term you want to roll with.
Yeah, going back to actual boxers showing up in this. Yeah, there's a couple of them in here as well too,
for sure.
And then that's it. That's all I got around to.
Yeah.
Nope.
Who's left, Adam?
That's me. Yeah. Obviously, as I said, watch Creed 1 and 2 for the first time, and great payoff. Honestly, it was they're fantastic. I'm kind of mad I didn't get to them sooner, but it was kind of nice waiting, honestly, and getting to this third one, and I kind of just let them rip, 3 in a row. Yeah. So, but yeah, man, that first one is so good.
Have you seen?
Nathaniel hit it on the head when he texted us. He was like, "Fuck, I forgot how good this movie is."
And I just watched it, and I was like, plot?
Yeah. And the next day,
I just watched it when you texted.
Oh man, this is good.
It is good, dude. It's really, really good. I mean, I'm watching it alone in my bedroom, and I'm still like almost ready to get on my feet when in that final fight.
For sure,
dude. They just, he's got you all riled up. Great film.
I saw a great tweet this week that was like the Creed and Rocky movies do this great cinematic trick, which is they have the best fucking music of all time, and they blare it as loudly as they can during the moment of the climax, and it's a really unique technique only to these films. And I was like, basically, like, Gonna Fly Now is still awesome, no matter what.
Yeah, no, it works. I mean,
have you seen any of the Rocky movies though?
I've not.
Yeah, I wondered.
Not a long time.
Honestly,
I remember
I
watching
think
them when
I've
I
only
was a
seen
kid.
One or two of those. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but I know you're fine. I remember watching them as a kid, but like they're basically new watches to me at this point.
For sure.
So like, I kind of want to go watch at least a couple of them.
I mean,
I just have no reference for some of these.
I mean, do yourself a favor. Watch the first one at least, because I mean, Rocky is truly one of those perfect scripts. It's one of those ones that's still taught as a perfect script kind of thing. In classes
a Jaws
today.
or Back to the Future kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Where it is just
Okay.
it is the way you do a rags to riches sports story, and then, like, I mean, the fact that Sylvester, like, the story behind it really too, where Stallone was coming up as an actor. Like, I think at one point he like sold his dog for money, and then like when he sold Rocky, basically bought the first thing he did was buy the dog back, kind of thing, and And it's an incredible movie. It's not like the fighting, the boxing is not what anywhere near to the technical level of Creed or anything like that.
Yeah.
But the story itself is still amazing.
The story is good.
It's still worth watching and everything like that too.
Cool. Good to know. Yeah. So watch Creed 1 and 2. 2 is also very good. I don't think I agree that 1 is the better of the two. TBD on whether I think it's better than 3 or not.
I will tell you though that
this
Creed 2 does have the best walkout.
Dude, yeah. Are you talking about the triangle
Yeah,
one?
for sure.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. That was insane. So yeah, I definitely like both of those. I definitely give Creed 1 the edge, but Creed 2 definitely has some good things going for it. One thing I wish the Creed 2 had done more was like they kind of made Ivan is the dad, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they made Ivan the villain more than they made Victor the villain, and I wish they would have just given Victor a little more personality defining moments. Whereas like we see it a little bit at like the dinner scene and then towards the end, but like up until then he's silent. Like we don't hear it from him at all, and it's kind of more the whole Rocky, Rocky background with the fact that obviously they tell you what happens to, or that Drago's the one that had the Apollo Creed fight that killed him, or killed Apollo Creed, whatever you want to say. Spoilers, I guess. But so like I just wish they would have made Victor a little bit better of like an actual villain in and of himself, and not just kind of base it off of the character's position. But that was my only thing. I also like couldn't stop watching these films, and like I was watching them like, oh, I can't wait to talk about this on the pod. I'm like, wait, we're not reviewing this movie.
Sure, yeah,
We're
yeah.
not going to talk about it. I had that happen to me a lot this weekend because I was also thinking about that with some Drive to Survive.
Ayo.
Yeah,
Moist.
I was like, I keep wanting to talk about all this technical stuff, but we're never really gonna. I guess we could do a little bit of sizzle on it if we wanted to, but Nathaniel, I remember you when I first started taking film classes. You were like, has that thing turned on in your brain where you just can't stop thinking about the filmmaking? I was like, yeah. He goes, good, because that never turns off. And I was thinking about that while watching Drive to Survive this weekend because I got to the first 3 or 4 episodes.
Sure.
But now that I'm taking this post-production class and just thinking about editing constantly now in
Sure.
film, that's all I can think about. Every time I see them cut, I'm like, how do I know that shot followed that shot? Like, who knows where all these shots are coming from?
Yeah.
They could be pulling whatever from wherever. It's all a lie. It's all made up. This is, I'm like going on a tirade. I'm on my soapbox in the balcony screaming, but
Yeah, it's
just can't stop thinking about it now. I'm never gonna be able to watch that show the same way.
editing is a lot like statistics. You can really make
Okay.
anything say anything you want, depending
I
on
like that.
how you want to work the numbers or how you want to work the shots. You take your medium
You
and then you build it
100%.
from there in some
Yeah.
ways. I think like I said, that really never goes away at this point. Welcome to having art as a craft, and now this is the lens you view everything through, or at least one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'll catch that in like what was it? Like I was watching Forged in Fire last week, and there was a couple shots where like I'm watching it and I was like, wait, that wasn't the knife that other guy used. And like, or that wasn't the same knife
Yeah.
that guy made. You just used that same slow motion shot, like reversed it basically and stuff too. Yeah, you'll catch a bunch of that stuff now, but and it'll make you realize quality, or like the quality differences in something that's quickly made, fast and cheap on the on the fly for union minimum versus the pro guys that are actually doing it out there as a craft,
Sure.
as well too. And how a lot of that stuff's leaked back and forth between different mediums and stuff now too. You have amazing editors working in television. You have shitty editors working in film. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. I was just thinking about that constantly watching Drive to Survive.
Yep.
So like you can literally make them say anything. Anytime you're not saying, or like anytime it cuts like that, you don't know when that was from. Even if it's like the same interview and it seems like the words that they're saying make sense in order, it's like I don't know. They could just be cutting like 3 different things together. There was one time Carlos Sainz, I think, was getting an interview, and they got the front camera here. He says one thing in the sentence, but then like when he pauses, like the dramatic effect, his sentence had three main pieces to it that he paused and emphasized for dramatic effect. And he
Beats.
started at one, and then they cut to another, and they cut back to the first one, all in one sentence. And I'm like, that's sus. That's sus as fuck.
Well,
I don't know if that's what he said.
That's also
Like,
something that I think is present in the Creed movies too. I think the first Creed sticks out from an editing standpoint as well too, in the way that Coogler builds that movie from
It's funny you
start
say
to
that,
finish.
because I, for my editing class, had to. We've been doing these like kind of three structure analysis almost of. We did one for documentaries, which it was documentaries was the assignment, but I actually wrote it on Inside, the editing of Inside. He said that was all right if I did that, because it's kind of a similar idea of this, kind of raw footage, whatever. But then we have to do a fiction one because it was supposed to be a nonfiction kind of idea of editing, but then also now a fiction one. And so since I was watching Creed anyway, I just decided to write about Creed. So I had to analyze the editing of the film. It is excellently paced when you kind of break it down, and really, really good in that sense.
Yeah, I think that is one where the original Creed does stick out, as I think it is the best edited and paced of the three.
As I'm going through it, I'm like, damn, this is really impressive. Where they're placing all this stuff, how it's paced, and everything. Yeah, it's really great. I can't wait for editing to kind of get its due praise.
Yeah, it is truly an unsung art. I mean, that's definitely the one where I admit, like, the most of, like, kind of for me, it's like it's a black box. Like, things go to editing and then magic happens and then it comes out and then it's fixed, right? Like, that's I don't know as much nuts and bolts on editing kind of thing, or like I don't have that artistic sense. But it is definitely a fascinating portion of the filmmaking process, or just
it really, really
storytelling in general.
Yeah, it's something I've been coming to enjoy more and more, and also hate more and more, because now, like I said, I can't stop noticing it. But it's, I think, very underrated. I'm trying to think if I also watched Moonlight for a different class assignment. Had to give a presentation on the cinematography of Moonlight, and that cinematographer, his name's James Laxton. So I did a presentation on him and that movie. Always a good watch. Also, if you want to talk about good editing and pacing and whatnot, and great cinematography. That's a great example of all three of those. Great film overall.
There is a song in Moonlight, which Adam, or I guess anyone on the squadron, do you know what chopped and screwed means for certain songs?
No.
I'm following you.
I figured if anyone would, Blake would. But anyways, there's a chopped and screwed remixed version of Classic Man on the that plays in Moonlight, like that he plays in the car. I want that version so bad. It's not anywhere. It is not anywhere. No.
Really?
Yeah, it is.
I know what song you're talking about.
Yeah.
In the third act when he's black, right?
Yes.
Well, that's his character's name. Don't worry. Don't be alarmed, listener.
Yeah.
Do not be alarmed.
No,
his character's name in the third act of that film is Black. All right.
That is true. That is true. That just threw me for a second there.
Yeah.
Again, onto the back foot randomly.
That was pretty funny with no context.
Yeah. Go watch the film.
Yeah, because
not canceled. Not yet.
It is broken up into 3 segments that are each named a different thing as well, too.
Yes.
Yeah, that follow his character. Context is needed in that one.
The context was needed for that one, for sure.
But I want that. I have thought about that version of that song since I've watched that movie for the first time like 4 years ago, and I still can't find it anywhere. But anyways,
I feel for you, Nathaniel. I wish that was out there. It's not on like the film soundtrack or anything.
No. I think it's just like a random. I think they've probably found it on YouTube or something like that, or something weird, and it's just not around. But anyways, let's talk about Creed 3.
Find it for you.
Yeah, segue us.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get into the main review segment. So Nathaniel, if listening here is new, or maybe they've just forgotten, can you give them a rundown of how the review segment works?
Oh, I'll give you an old rundown, folks.
A little old rundown?
Little old rundown. If you're new.
Sounds so sexual sometimes.
I don't know. Just
maybe
how it is.
Me.
It's innately sexual. Everyone knows that. Anyways, How it works on Back Row Banter here is it is split into two sections. There's the non-spoiler section, and then there's the spoiler section. Pretty self-explanatory. In the non-spoiler section, we'll go over the movie's IMDb plot summary, who wrote it, who directed it, who's casted in it, or at least the main cast for the most part, and go around the squadron, decide if we like decide whether or not we like the movie. Yes or no. There is no nuance on the internet, and we have to recommend it for you. And then we'll go around and that's it for the spoiler section. Sorry about that. That's it for the non-spoiler section. We'll move into the spoiler section at that point. I'll play the spoiler noise. Don't worry if you don't want to have it spoiled for you. We'll put it in the show notes. And we'll go into our deeper thoughts of the movie itself, any big plot twists or anything like that. And even if you don't want to have it spoiled for you, do come back because we are going to rank it up on our Entropy list, which is our big list of everything we have watched on the podcast. Ranked. With that said, Adam, tell me about Creed 3.
I would love to. This is a new film, of course, rated PG-13 with a runtime of 1 hour and 56 minutes and an IMDb rating of 7.4 out of 10. Pretty good. Directed, of course, the directorial debut of Michael B. Jordan. Which, written by Keenan Coogler, Zach Balin, and Ryan Coogler. So he's still attached to the franchise. Starring, of course, Michael B. Jordan, Tessa Thompson, Jonathan Majors returns. This isn't back-to-back weeks, is it? What was last week?
Was it last week?
Was last week Ant-Man?
No.
I don't know. Everything blurs together.
It was.
No, last week was Lord of the Rings.
No.
Last week was Lord of the Rings. I was going to say, that's definitely not right. All right, 2 out of 3 weeks. We got a Jonathan Majors feature. That's still pretty good. Wood Harris, as we mentioned earlier, Felicia Rashad, Mila, I think Mila Davis Kent plays Amara Creed, their daughter. I think we'll probably stop there. There's obviously other people, but that's the main crew there, I would say. The IMDb summary reads as follows. Adonis has been thriving in both his career and family life, but when a childhood friend and former boxing prodigy resurfaces, the face-off is more than just a fight. Ooh, that's good. I like that. Little suspense at the end. Keeps you on the edge of your seat.
A bit of sizzle, you could say.
A bit of sizzle, right? Yeah, that's a good IMDb summary. It's pretty high up there in the tier list. All right, here, fellas. Of course, new movie, new watch for everybody here on the podcast. What are we thinking? Where does this shake out in the whole Creed little trilogy that we got going on here? Nathaniel.
Sorry, you wanted me. I was coughing off mic there for a second.
Oh, I saw you. I did see you mute for a second. I was like, guys.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I'll kick it off here.
Please.
It's good. I admit that I was feeling a little bit trepidatious going in with first-time director Michael B. Jordan. But I think he does an admirable job. I was a little bit concerned that we would be missing Rocky. And for the most part, I can tell you that during the movie itself, I didn't really ever feel like, he was missing. This story that they particularly decided to tell doesn't need Rocky to be there in any ways. But, it still would have been like one of those things of like, it's still a little weird, I feel like.
It's weird. It's weird. It's not a little weird. It's weird.
But I feel like they finish up Rocky's story well enough in Creed 2 that I can forgive them that.
Agreed.
My big takeaway, which is going to be pretty similar for two out of last 3 weeks here, is that Jonathan Majors is just really operating on like a different level than anyone else in the game right now.
Really good actor.
He has a weird rhythm to him that like he just seems to be like it's like he acts on the offbeats in some ways. You know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean.
Like he takes weird line readings towards stuff. But it all still rings as true. It still rings as realistic. But he just has a strange charisma about him that is that's pretty electric whenever he's on screen for the most part. So very excited to see where he goes in the future here. And to be honest with you, Michael B. Jordan's in a bit of a gunfight with him and a charisma off throughout this movie, and
I don't know if I'm alone, or I don't think I should be alone in saying that he kind of loses it. Like I do think Jonathan Majors steals the show in this movie.
It's borderline,
Not
but
that-
you know.
I mean, I'm not saying Michael B. Jordan does a bad job by any means.
No,
He's still great in this film.
I'm with you.
I just think I think that's just more of a testament to Jonathan Majors rather than a knock on Michael B. Jordan. You know,
It's true. Other things I can talk about in a non-spoilery review. I was concerned that the Tessa Thompson character Bianca and his daughter, who was born in Creed 2, which I think was a really interesting element, particularly. It's not a spoiler. It's in Creed 2. The daughter has hearing loss and is deaf. I'd like to see that was played out and integrated into the story, more in the third one as well too, and that still felt, essential in some ways, but not.
When you say played into the story, do you mean the actual plot or
yeah,
what?
just like that. Like, how many times have we seen sequels or trilogies or something where it's just like plot details that are introduced in the first movie are just not carried through at all throughout this, and particularly in the Rocky series, I think they have a bad history of kind of sidelining their female characters, in particular Adrian, throughout the original Rocky series. So when Tessa Thompson's character was kind of introduced in the first one, I feel like it was kind of this attempt to a little bit rectify that situation in some ways. And, she has kind of her storyline continuing in the second one as well, too. And I thought they had her and their daughter at an interesting place in the third one as well, too. When we kind of check back in with the Creed family at the start of the movie, the whole family as a unit is at an interesting place overall. Yeah.
So you are happy with how they handled their daughter, or you're not?
I think
It seemed like you started out negative, but then towards the end there, I wasn't sure if you were
No,
like,
yeah. I think
actually positive on it.
overall I'm positive on the family unit storyline in the movie itself, and I liked the amount that they were integrated. I was happy to see that they were still kept throughout the movie itself, or throughout the trilogy, I should say.
Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying now.
But yeah, that's kind of my non-spoilery review of Creed 3.
Okay.
So I would say I am a recommend overall. I think in the Creed-averse, I think it's probably my third favorite. I do feel like the other ones are elevated by Sylvester Stallone being there.
Sure.
Fair.
Blake?
Yeah, I'll follow up. Haven't seen the original two or the first two originally in theaters, and kind of rewatching now. Overall thoughts of the third one, pretty good, especially for a directorial debut. I think it's pretty good once you kind of put that caveat out there. Jonathan Majors we said in Ant-Man, he's great. This is really more of my introduction to him between Ant-Man and this. And to be honest with you, he's excellent at what he does. Just his microaggressions, everything. He's just really good, and he's gonna end up being a very special actor. With all things considered, I do think we are missing Sylvester Stallone, so that does kind of hurt the story a little bit. But that's I think Jonathan Majors is able to carry some of that, as well as Tessa Thompson, because they give her a bigger role, as Nathaniel touched on earlier. As far as ranking them all three, one is the best by far. Honestly, I think I'd go 1, 3, 2. I originally thought it would be in order, just with 1, 2, 3, but the second one is not my favorite. The only thing that I would say that I do have a gripe with on the third one is just that. I'll have to touch on that in spoilers, but there's one thing I'm just kind of like, ooh, I don't think that'll ever happen. given the context of professional sports, but
Uh,
film, right? So
Oh,
we'll see how that
I
goes.
definitely have some criticisms as well too. But
Okay,
yeah,
for sure.
like
for sure.
we'll
So, yeah.
definitely talk about that in
Yeah,
spoilers.
so
as well,
I'll
too.
save that for there. But yeah, overall for
I think I know what
directorial
you're
debut,
referencing.
honestly, it's pretty good, man. So
Yeah.
I'll pass it to somebody else.
Ty?
Yeah, I think that kind of what we touched on this being Michael's kind of debut. I think he carries it very well. I will say along the Sylvester being there, not being there kind of point, it sucks, but it only sucks because I'm pretty sure this has to do with like contracts and rights and stuff like that, correct?
Yeah. So they're in essence basically when Sylvester Stallone created the first one, he gave away a lot of the rights in order to allow himself to be the star. Because originally they wanted to buy the script off of him.
Right.
And that was it. But he was like, no, either I am starring in it or you don't get the script. And they were like, all right, fine, you do, but then you won't own certain amounts of the character, blah, blah, blah. So that was with a gentleman named Erwin Winkler. He is now either very, very old or dead, and it is now in control of his children. And my understanding of the situation is when the first Creed came out, well, Sylvester's had been unhappy about this basically since Rocky became a franchise. Yeah. It's one thing to sell your rights to something at the start of it when it's nothing, and then another thing to, be it then become a huge, one of the most recognized movie franchises of all time when it is still your character who you play and who you write, but you don't have ownership of. So I think he, at certain points throughout time, has wanted to do more sequels or take it in different directions that have always been kind of shut down by this Winkler guy. And when they did Creed, they basically had to coax Sly Stallone out of retirement of the character to come back as Rocky. And then they obviously did it for the second one. But when the third one came out, it was not really his choice to not come back for the third one, it seems, in some ways. So, yeah.
That's kind of the vibe with that I was getting after kind of looking into it a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sucks when you have such an iconic character in just in him being Rocky in general, and just what he does for this trilogy. And so it sucks because it's happening because of something like that. And that's kind of a behind the scenes downfall that kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Of course.
Yeah, I do
but-
think it's going to be one of those things where we will always kind of have to wonder what Creed 3 would look like if he were in it, because I do generally think it makes, to me at least, it made a big enough difference where like this could have kind of edged out maybe my rankings a little bit, or changed that up a little bit. I think it could have done a lot for the movie personally.
Sure. Yeah, I think, but on the other hand, it doesn't take away from what they achieved with this film too much. I think there were, maybe only a handful of spots throughout the movie that, maybe having a Rocky there would be like ridiculously beneficial. I don't think it I don't think it tilted the weights or the scales too much in one direction or the other, but it definitely would have helped a little bit. But other than that, very, very well done, very good fight scenes. Kind of as we said before, both these gentlemen are very poised and kind of at their best, and it's very cool to kind of get both of them on screen at the same time. And we can kind of touch on things a little bit, but Michael has kind of blatantly said that there are some anime references that he takes, kind of from what he watched as a child and
Inspiration. Yeah.
yep, and has kind of put towards this film, and it's very cool. It's very evident, and it's very it's nice to see that he's basically saying, this is what I grew up on, this is what I enjoyed watching, and these are the things that I'm gonna like give credit where credit is due, and say that I'm blatantly taking these things from here, and this is what I think a good fight scene should look like. Whereas I'm sure other directors have taken things from anime, because let's be honest, it's just a massive genre with
Sure.
tons of writers and people that it's cool for him to basically say, I take this, and this is what I learned it from, whereas other directors might be like, no, I didn't get that from anywhere. So, but yeah, I'm gonna recommend.
Cool. Yeah. I'll say right off the bat, I'm definitely recommend. I think this kind of puts Creed in a position a few trilogies are in, where like all three of these are very good.
Sneaky good trilogy.
And yeah, very sneaky good trilogy, like kind of in the same realm of Planet of the Apes trilogy.
That was the other one I thought of as well too.
Yeah, I think it's kind of in that same range where it's like, sure, it's maybe not a Star Wars like original trilogy or anything like that. Not quite to that level, but it certainly is still very good. I think it stands on its own enough. Uh-oh. Can y'all hear me all right still?
Yeah, I can.
My computer's having a panic attack with my USBs. Anyway, I'll get my camera back on here in a second. But anyway, yeah, I really enjoy this one. It does finish out the trilogy very, very well. I think we keep talking about Michael B. Jordan's debut with the directing, and I absolutely loved it. I think he does a fantastic job. I think, Nathaniel, you said you're kind of worried that he won't maybe match the visual eye of Coogler.
I did say that. Yep.
Yeah. And I think I agree with you. I don't think he's quite on his level, but I think it's a little bit more of a lateral step than it is a step back. I just think it's very different. You can definitely tell like Coogler's influence on Michael B. Jordan, which I think he's also spoken about.
Yeah.
Like, he's learned from him, and you can see that so much throughout the film. It does have the same kind of stylistic category almost, like it still stays in line with the style of the first two films, but it definitely takes a step on its own, which I like a lot. I think there's things that I like more in this film than the other two. I think there's things from the other two that he maybe should have kept going with them. One of the biggest things, I mean, this kind of it's a directing thing, so it's not that much of a spoiler, but for the first two, they have those kind of tracking shots out of the locker room into the arena. I wish they would have kept those. I really enjoyed them both in both the films, first two.
For sure.
And it's not done the same way in this one. That is one thing that I definitely miss. But small things like that, I think, could have been changed. But overall, this is a really good movie. If we're talking about rankings, this honestly, it might go 1, 3, 2 for me. I think this might be better than the second, edged out just a little bit. It's hard because I think all three of these are very, very good. The one thing I wouldn't have a problem edging this out with the second one if Sylvester Stallone was in it. I do think their relationship is a highlight of the first two, and the fact that it's not here, I actually don't miss it nearly as much as I thought I was going to, because I really was expecting that to be something that gets taken away from the film, but I don't miss it as much as I was expecting to, because it was a highlight for the first two, and it not being here, I wasn't sure if I was going to like the film as much, but they do compensate with, as we already mentioned, giving Tessa Thompson more of a greater role, her character more of a greater role in the film, as well as his mom too is in it kind of, isn't it more, but overall, yeah, it's really good. His directing is great, the fight scenes are great, good climactic ending match. If you like Creed, or even if you don't, even if you haven't seen the other two, I mean, honestly, it's just a good movie overall, and I think you'd just enjoy it regardless. All right, well, I think with that being said, that's 4 recommends all around, meaning we can go into the spoiler segment of the podcast. So if you've not seen Creed 3, and do not want it spoiled for you, go ahead and check that episode description, where we've left a timestamp you can jump to, where you'll be taken to the ranking of the movie up upon our entropy list.
Up upon.
Spoiler time, Nathaniel.
Spoilers. Shit goes down.
Papa Schwartz says to me on the phone the other day,
Mm.
what happened to the other sounds? What happened to your other intro music and the spoiler sound? The sounds now just aren't as good.
Blame Roadcaster 2, which did not give me the
I don't know.
same soundboard.
The mixer's better. The mixer itself is better. I don't know if we necessarily need the sound. Like, nah, you should go back to the old one. I was like, okay.
Is he saying that he doesn't enjoy my?
He's a purist. What can I say? Papa Schwartz has got taste.
We need to accept change.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. Maybe I can see if maybe I can find some of the old sounds.
We could get those.
There.
We could get those sounds onto that soundboard.
I'm sure
I
I
could almost
could.
guarantee it. It wouldn't be that hard.
We have
Regardless,
technology.
We have the technology.
Yeah. Regardless.
But anyways,
Creed 3.
Cthulhu.
Shit goes down. Cthulhu. I fucking love Cthulhu. I wish they would have made that movie titled this.
Here's a criticism I have.
Let's let her rip.
The training montage in this is not as good.
No, it's not.
As the first two. And that's where I think the second one does say, I love their little Mexican training desert that
dude, I was
low-key,
like hoping he was gonna go back. Like he was gonna go back for a second time. That would have been so cool.
Strange tattooed man with no neck that they put in a tire with him.
Tire together. Yeah, dude.
That was... I do feel like Creed 3 like
I'm sorry, Creed 3 sounds so weird.
Creed 3. It's a step back on the boxing side of things, and kind of like the realism, if you want to call it that, sort of side of stuff. Whereas like the first one, his style that he brings into the third or the main match makes sense, and in the second one, the way that he has to fight Drago kind of makes sense. Whereas in this one, I don't want to say it's because of the anime influences, because I loved the anime influences and like particularly certain shots that he went through and kind of how he stylized that final fight, but there was a couple different things where it was just like, there's the weird checkmate thing at the start of the movie that never comes back. And then there was another thing where Creed can kind of see extra openings that other people can't, never comes back overall. And then also like Jonathan Majors, Dame, his like super guard that he had in front of him with the fist over fist boxing guard, and then he like would grab one guy's arm and punch his shoulder socket basically, and apparently the ref never saw any of this or anything that was happening. And I think those were kind of the few moments where it was just where like the first two felt like very dedicated to the sport of boxing not in a realistic sense, but in a sporting movie sense. Yeah, they were sports movies about boxing. This one is more like, there were boxing movies, there were sport movies. This one's more just kind of the other way, a little bit more stylized in that sense, which is fine, overall. But I think maybe that's more of a personal issue for me, that it was a little bit different on that side of things, but whatever.
No, I definitely noticed the same things as you. I agree with you. I do prefer what they did with 1 and 2. But I think at this point, it doesn't bother me as much just because I've already seen them pay respects in that style, and I don't know if I need to see that a third time. Like I honestly I had the same thoughts as I'm watching this, but I also just wasn't caring as much as you. I think is the thing is I noticed what you're talking about, but I don't know if it mattered to me as much as it probably should have. Just because I just watched the first two over the weekend. I didn't need another. He's taller than you. You got to get inside, like that kind of thing.
Sure,
like I'm kind of almost glad that at this point in the trilogy that he was a little bit more relaxed, just like let's let loose,
Maybe the better way to kind of phrase my criticism and my thing overall is that
You're a grumpy old man.
well, there is that side of it overall, but like my bigger point with it, like I said, was that I didn't like the training montage as much, and I think part of that is that this movie, more than the other two, kind of has things happen for no other reason other than they have to happen to set up the big main story at the end.
Yeah, I mean, we're in spoilers. The Victor Drago hit was just pure.
Yeah, that is a big portion of it where it was no one thought about that.
That's cheating. That's kind of cheap as fuck. But I'll let you do it.
You're talking about
for sure
why he was removed from the initial fight, right? Is that
the hit?
Where he gets Nancy Kerrigan by the mysterious man.
There you go, Nancy Kerrigan. Yeah. That was just so cheap. I wish they would have found a better way around that, personally.
You're talking about in terms of Jonathan Majors. What is it? Diamond Dame beating the I can't think of the boxer who was the world
Felix,
champ, correct?
No. It's more the reference that he gets his chance to box Felix because Drago gets just.
Oh yeah, at that party, right?
Yeah, at the party he gets
record label party
for like no reason, and it's not really explained later as to what happened specifically until we kind of just need to understand like who the guy who did that was, but like there's really no reason for that other than for it to happen for the plot, which is not great storytelling.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
And I just feel that Jonathan Majors kind of like the reason he's so upset like is resolved with the boxing match. But is it? Kind of thing?
No,
like
no.
Like I know it happens because that's the match is this catharsis, but also is it? You know, and I feel like those were just kind of the bigger things for me overall is those bits in the movie that just didn't really feel like they didn't always mesh up. And the other one was the daughter fighting out her anger was a little bit messy. I thought as well
that to me feels like they're trying to set her up as like they can keep going with Creed, but like make her.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that, but that's an idea, I suppose.
That's where I was kind of thinking they were going with that, where they'll maybe take a few more years off with this franchise, let the trilogy cool off a bit, and then come back with her as like a female boxer.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. I guess.
And then they can kind of tout her as like a cool, like female deaf boxer, which I think would be really fucking cool, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that'd be cool to see and interesting to have a protagonist because that's deaf in this role. Because we see, even in The Last of Us, spoilers for Nathaniel or anyone else who hasn't seen The Last of Us, they feature like a deaf character, and like as we already talked about, referenced A Quiet Place.
Sure.
And they have the deaf character, but like to have a lead who's deaf, I think would add even like that's a different level of kind of inclusivity in Hollywood. Whereas like we've seen it and it's been better with them trying to include these things, but to have like a leading role like that be a deaf character, I don't know if the actress is deaf. I would assume she probably is. They usually kind of try to keep those things in line, but. I think that'd be really cool to see. So I didn't mind that as much because I kind of see where they might be building for that, and I'm like, I'm down.
Yes, I agree that that's an interesting way that they could take it. Overall.
I want to see if that actress, if she's deaf in real life. Ela Davis Kent.
Tyler, your thoughts on spoiler section. If you're there, I can't see. Are you off camera?
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
She is deaf, by the way. Did confirm.
Oh, good.
The actress.
Not good that she's deaf, but I like the fact that if the character is deaf, then
yeah,
be deaf.
I agree. Thanks for cleaning that up, Ty. I was
Yep.
gearing up to clean up my statement.
So, but yeah, I think I would agree with the training montage. It just doesn't feel as fulfilling, I guess is a good word for me, as some of the other ones do. And just kind of training montages in general, it just doesn't feel as good. But I think really that's probably one of my biggest gripes. I will say, and again, this is kind of repeated, but the way that this is filmed, it definitely does take away from the actual sport a little bit. It definitely feels more like a kind of like an action movie versus a movie about boxing. And I think that does have a little bit to do with the anime kind of stuff, and that probably has a little bit to do with me just personally, because if I hear that word being translated into something that's not anime, I'm already kind of looking at it a little differently, in a sense. So I don't think it takes away from it in a bad way, but I think you definitely get more of a movie about something else that necessarily isn't boxing, even though it's a boxing movie.
Sure.
But yeah, I think I also really like the anime aspect. It's cool to kind of see those fights, and you can see
man.
a lot of the cutscenes from certain animes that he actually basically did it like almost scene for scene from the anime, just obviously in live action, and it's very, very cool to see that inspiration and kind of see it come to life in a way that we probably haven't seen before.
Yeah, I think we've already talked about how or you mentioned earlier how people have definitely taken inspiration from anime in the past, but this is like by far the most direct and upfront kind of adaptation of that we've seen. And I love it, honestly. When we first went to like the little shadow realm kind of boxing arena, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this fully. Like I love the crowd reactions and whatnot and all that, and the announcers. Like I do like how they set that up. But then we kind of sat there for a second, and then once the jail bars were the only thing that kind of threw me off, where I was like, I don't like that at all. I wish they just I'm okay with the shadow realm, and then I was like kind of easing into it, and then they put him behind or against jail bars, and I was like, don't love that. But then once those went away, I was like, okay, actually this is pretty fucking sick. And like the slow-mo, the camera shot where he uppercuts and it kind of keeps going, and then they reset and it's the next round. Really, really cool. Like that was a fantastic sequence in my opinion. I really enjoyed it.
That was one thing I thought too. I wish they had played up more the battle for LA boxing match element of it too, and setting it in Dodger Stadium, especially just coming out of watching Straight Outta Compton and everything as well too.
Sure.
When like kind of where and like the fact that this film tries to definitely play in that element a little bit too, of kind of like the two black experiences or different black experiences, I should say. Overall,
that definitely could have been played up
with Dame and Adonis, and like I think a couple times he's like Dame even says like, I was the one picking you up, and like we were going to like the ghetto or whatever to kind of like do our shit and stuff like that too. So I thought that could have been emphasized a little bit more overall, especially when you have the first Creed movie and Rocky series being so Philly based and so iconic for Philly as well too. Like I think you could have definitely played that up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean his boxing tag anyway is Hollywood. Like this could have been Fight for Hollywood. They could have done it like that or something like that, because that was something I thought about where I was like, they're going to the final fight. I'm like, oh, they're cheering for him. It's his hometown crowd, but then hometown crowd, and I was like, oh wait, no, it's also Dame's hometown crowd.
Yeah.
Like they could have played that up a lot more, I think.
I do like that Creed can just go out and just, knock out citizens on the beach as well too, and no one gives a shit. Like just one shots that guy.
Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. I also thought it was kind of funny that like Dame gets his parole bracelet off and immediately after winning just starts drinking and shit.
Yeah,
like,
I
okay,
forgot
dude,
about that.
don't get ahead of yourself here.
Yeah, that beach scene's really weird.
That beach scene is a little out of place.
It's
It
doing a
feels like
lot
it
of
jumped.
it's
real
doing a
quick.
lot of it's doing a lot of character development heavy lifting, and it doesn't feel like it is tied in strongly enough. Like Dame makes the full villain turn in that scene, and it just doesn't feel like it's kind of properly set up enough in some ways.
Yeah,
And it's all
it
very
feels a little
binary.
rushed.
100%, where it's not really, he kind of comes out of the fight against Felix feeling like the villain to the viewer, but not in the story itself. And then all of a
right.
sudden, kind of just all in on the villain side of things. And there was really, in the story itself, was no kind of gradation between the two. It was,
And
he's,
I think
my
that
hometown buddy, and then he's not.
I wonder too if they were trying to save it a little bit too by not making him too irredeemable, because they wanted him to end up kind of in that
Sure.
positive reconciliation space at the end of the movie. And obviously the more you split that, the more you drive them further apart, the more you're gonna have to bring it back in together at the end, and that's a tougher sell. But that was one element of the movie that I felt like which needed to be a little bit stronger throughout, was Dame's overall headspace and character motivation in kind of that side of things.
Yeah. It was
I'll
never
tell
fully
you
clear.
one thing that I've kind of noticed that I thought was actually done really well in the first two. And this one, they kind of incorporate the same idea, but it doesn't seem to be done as well. And that's in the first two. They show clips of like HBO or ESPN and things of that nature. You get like real anchors. You're getting kind of like real newscasting. And they have that in Creed 3, but it doesn't seem like it's done in an authentic way. It seems like it's done in a way that like fits the movie. Like even his interaction with like Stephen A. Smith on like First Take.
Sure.
That's not how interactions look like when you're watching First Take, right? Where
Sure.
opposed to in the original one, granted they don't have any of the characters in the ESPN settings.
Yep.
But the ESPN settings sound exactly how an ESPN setting does. It just happens to consist of like the Creed universe.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm articulating that in the best way, but yeah,
No, I
that
know what
drove me
you're talking about.
insane.
I do know what you're talking about. Where like the first one, I think it's the HBO.
Yep.
It's
There's
HBO
HBO
boxing.
miniseries. Yep.
Yeah, like big, and then in the second one, it's the Showtime series, and in
Yep.
this one, it's the DAZN thing. Which, if you know anything about DAZN, that does kind of actually line up with their thing, because they're a streaming service that also just happens to be stream boxing, but they're just way less professional kind of thing than like
I guess
the other two, which does kind of line up with that thing. But to your point, it just emphasizes how different that is as well too. Like the first ones have the not a Bruce Buffer. Bruce is the UFC guy, but the Buffer is a Mike Buffer, I think. It's the Let's Get Ready to Rumble.
Yeah,
and
I believe
this one has
got him. It's got like Max Kellerman.
Yep,
and the
Malo
other guy was the
Ronaldo.
analyst.
Yeah,
who were
yeah.
actually the analysts at that time.
Yeah,
in
exactly,
boxing. So, yeah.
exactly.
They got that stuff down to like a T in the first two.
Yeah,
and that makes it feel a little bit more authentic, opposed to like what we're watching here. When Ty was like, it seems more like a movie, I guess,
Yeah,
or more
I
like
see
an
what you're
action
saying.
movie, opposed to like something really dedicated to boxing.
it is more stylized for sure.
For sure. And that even goes to when he's having an interaction with Stephen A. Smith on First Take, and they're talking about, well, like, Creed, are you gonna come back and fight for the city or whatever? And then Jonathan Major's character is like at home doing pull-ups on the stairs. Like overhears it.
Yeah,
He's like,
calls
turn the
in.
TV up, and then he calls in instantly, and they're like, wait a minute. He like cuts Creed off while he's talking. He's like, wait a minute, we're getting a call, we're gonna go live, and then it's like him immediately talking shit. I'm like, dude, did you know
that felt a little felt a little heavy-handed for sure.
For sure. But no, that was just shits and giggles. That was one thing I kind of looked at. I was like, not quite sure how I felt about that. As well as the other thing was, I think we kind of touched on a little earlier, and that was just John the Major's character winning that first fight against Felix by like blatantly cheating.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
just-
all right, like
just-
who's
Everyone saw it except for the
For
ref,
sure.
apparently.
for sure? That's
2
the one thing I
points
was
for a
kinda
blatant
like,
elbow. Really? Only 2 points?
yeah, right.
He's-
I was like, all right, come on, guy.
I mean,
Like-
yeah.
Realistically though, how else does he beat him? I don't think if they
Yeah,
if
that
they
was
put that in there and he actually like
But, like-
outbox him, I think everyone would be like, well, this is fucking bullshit.
well.
You know?
That was the thing that I liked, or maybe I guess I made the mistake of thinking that they were gonna go, was that like the idea that he was older and like was from like perhaps just a different style of boxing as well too.
Sure.
I thought
Okay,
like
yeah.
could be kind of thing, because like there is different styles, like where you have like
Yeah.
the Philly shell, or like
Mhm.
your traditional leading in southpaw or orthodox and all of
Yep.
that kind of thing, and the different stuff. So like I thought that was maybe kind of be it, and you saw elements of that. Like I said, that he had like the crab guard earlier, where he's crossing his arms in front of him, where as opposed to like a high guard, which is your kind of traditional
Yeah.
one. And there was things in like Jonathan Major's performance too, where like there's a couple different times where you see where he kind of touches the boxing glove to like the center of his forehead before it comes down to like the center of his chest again, and like that's a really old school boxing rhythm thing to kind of keep yourself along with you as my Discord resets itself here. So folks, you're just gonna have to listen to me talk about boxing for a little bit more. But yeah, I thought that was a really kind of interesting element to it, that he did seem to have these different other techniques that I thought that they could have maybe set in more clearly in the world of real boxing, quote unquote, rather than as stylized as much, which again maybe just makes me sound like we're saying the same thing over and over again. So I'm just gonna shut up for now. But anyone else have any other things they're gonna talk about?
Let's get to some positives. We keep
we
keep
are kind of
giving our
shitting on the
criticisms.
movie.
Well,
but
you know
we all
what?
think it's pretty
That's
good.
no, that's the thing, is we've all stated how good we think it is already. And one thing I've always heard in the past is like we're criticizing it because we want it to be better. Like we
Yeah,
see
good
where it could be improved. And it's not necessarily that it's bad. It's just these are the things we'd like to change so that it could be even better.
Yeah.
With that being said, I do like the fight scenes in this film. I don't think they're as good as the first one. Maybe close to the second, but I think they're good, and for the most part, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
You guys-
I would say
you-
one that stands out on this, and I think this might be either due to Michael B. Jordan's directing or whoever it may be. But that's just like more the involvement of, I can't believe I already forgot her character's name. Tessa Thompson's character.
Bianca.
Bianca, thank you. And you see much more of their involvement of like their relationship. Although you do get glimpses of that in the second one. But that is kind of good to be able to see them and see how like their chemistry with each other on screen, because it turned
For
out to
sure.
be pretty good through 3 movies.
Yeah.
You
The
know,
fact that it's
especially
kind of held
watching
up
them
as well.
pretty quickly, like you can really see like, oh no, they've got good chemistry on screen with each other, as well as both of them obviously working with the young girl, who I apologize, forgot her name, who happens to be deaf in real life, but that's also a good kind of segment of art when they take that route where you mentioned like, if the character is deaf in the film, let's see if we can actually get someone who can accurately represent this, right, opposed to just
Yeah.
getting somebody else to act like this. So I will give them kudos to that. And I was actually watching a podcast maybe last week or 2 weeks ago, and that was it's $1 million worth of game. It's the podcast with two or one retired rapper, and the other one's like, I think it's his cousin or something of that nature. But they had Michael B. Jordan on there, and he was talking about kind of like Creed 3 and his upbringing, all things of that nature, then how this was his directorial debut. And I believe he said he actually got a lot of tips on, or he took a lot of tips and just kind of a lot of inspiration from anime, as Tyre said earlier.
Yeah.
He said he got a lot of tips in his storyboarder, or his storyboarding, whoever's completing that. I don't know the correct term on that. Nathaniel may be able to articulate that a little better than I am. But he got that person as a reference directly through Denzel Washington. He said,
Okay.
So he said Denzel was able to give him kind of a lot of people on his staff. It was him and somebody else, I forgot. He said came like directly from Denzel Washington's camp.
That's
and that was
pretty
kind
cool.
yeah. So he was like, he just made a quick call and Denzel was like, hey, like, don't worry about it. I'll have someone for you tomorrow, you know? So cool to see that kind of stuff on the back end where that's how the film got put together.
Yeah. That the anime inspiration it fits way better than you'd think in this kind of movie. Because I heard that before going in that he kind of used anime influence, and I was like, that's intriguing, but what does that mean? And then you see it, and I'm like, all right, I actually kind of love this. I would love to see, honestly, like a fourth Creed with more of that style. Wouldn't be opposed at all. All right. Do we have any other big points to talk about before we head out of spoilers?
The mom's really good in this as well too, Felicia Rashad.
Yeah.
Finishing off kind of like that other generation of the Rocky characters and the Apollo Creed connection and everything. And I do
Sure.
think the kind of general storyline of Creed of like, you know, creating his own legacy in the first one and kind of, you know, separating himself in the second one. And then even in the third one, this kind of idea of like, you need to go, you know, him finally being able to talk fully about what he has gone through in his past, which was like always kind of a thing in the background of it was kind of a mantra that he said of like, you don't know what I've gone through, or you don't really know where I've been from. And obviously we see him in the first one, he's in juvie and stuff, but it's never really been brought up. And I do like that, like kind of what I was referencing earlier, that is a thread that they have now finally pulled through to this third one where Tessa Thompson and him are talking and she's kind of like, you are always having more of these secrets and more of these past things that you don't really want to talk about. And it's like, now you don't have Rocky and you don't have your boxing as your outlet and you won't talk about them with me. So those are real issues and real.
Yeah, what are you
know?
Like, it's time to figure your shit out.
Yeah, and like that's
outlets.
character growth over a trilogy. You know that is good shit right there. Like we should be celebrating.
That conversation was awesome. Because then she has the same moment where she's like, I also haven't been honest with you. Like, you know, my career ending my career not going how I thought it was has been incredibly hard, but I haven't been able to talk about that either. And you know, your mom was the only person I had, just kind of similar to how you had Rocky, but now we both don't have anyone and we only have each other now. Like, it was a great moment for their relationship.
For sure.
That has, and you know, that's a great payoff at the end of a trilogy like that, to have such growth between the two characters, both individually and just like the relationship as a whole between each other. To have that kind of keep building in a third movie is really impressive, actually.
And point of interest, I think too, that Tessa Thompson is older in real life than Michael B. Jordan as well too, by like 4 or 5 years. So I think that is just typically, you know, Hollywood generally works in the reverse on those side of things in terms of age disparity between your lead actors. But yeah, just good overall movies. Like we've said, I think they are the sneaky trilogy out there in terms of quality and hit rate.
Point.
And who knew that the Rocky movies overall just high hit rate as a series of good movies.
Quietly. Absolutely.
All right.
Let's rank it.
Let's rank it.
Cool. Well, welcome back, listeners who skipped over the spoiler segment of the podcast. We're going to go ahead and put K3 up upon the Entropy list. For those of you who don't know, the Entropy list is our big list of every movie we have reviewed, all on one fantastic list compared to one another. It's essentially how we rate our movies. If you want to reference the Entropy list for yourself, you can do so by checking the episode description. All right. K3.
I like Creed 3. If we're gonna go with a different name for it, Creed 3.
I'm a K3 guy myself.
I've got an idea
already. All right, let's
run it.
Yeah, don't.
Man, we got some good movies out here. That sounds bad with context, but I'm gonna go 70.
We just do have too many good movies on here.
We really do. Like all
We
by the time
truly,
you even got
we
to something
truly,
that sounded respectable just on a numerical value, I was at 40, and 40 is fucking Scream. So I was like, all right, guys, like I got to go below that. So
yeah.
I'm going 70. And for listeners, that's above A Quiet Place, which is notoriously held as a pretty good movie, and below Soul, which we know Disney and Pixar is good. Anybody else want to take a stab?
Sorry, I was having a coughing attack and dying.
Did you say stab or jab?
Wayo.
Jam.
I haven't quite decided yet.
Blake, I don't think I'm going to be too far ahead of you. I was in the same kind of section. Prey actually jumped out at me overall as
So good.
Yeah, another one of those that I think was a little bit under the radar, that could have really gone one direction, but really surprised me overall. So I think I will actually agree with you, and I will put this a cut above A Quiet Place and put it at 70, just below Soul, just above A Quiet Place.
Fair enough.
Adam, have you decided yet, or are you going to go last?
I'm gonna go last.
All right, Tyler.
I was also in a very similar vein. I was looking pretty high up top at first, and then I was like, wait a minute. There's quite a few things on here. So I don't mind the menu. I think this is better. X, Prey, and A Quiet Place are, kind of where I think this thing gets stuck, and even The Strangers, you know what I mean? But
Right. I agree.
I'll drop it just a little bit below where you guys are kind of at, and I'll do 73, so below X.
Hmm.
Oh, X.
All right, Adam. Above or below?
As above, so below.
Decent movie. Underrated in
It's
its
just-
time.
I agree.
We do have too many good movies. Because it's
Yeah,
70.
we honestly got to start getting
below.
more shitty movies.
Should we just stock the bottom half of the movies with the bottom half of the list with just
Yeah,
shitty
yeah,
movies so
for
we could
real.
feel better about it?
Fuck. Yeah, I can't go much higher than where you guys are at. Tyler, where were you at again?
73, I think.
Yeah, he was 73 below X, above the menu.
And both of you guys were at 70.
70 below Soul, above Quiet Place. Gun to your head, gun to your balls. Where are you going?
I think I'm also at 70, man. That's just,
Yeah. It's a good spot.
it's a good spot. It just feels bad, you know?
Exactly. Once you say it out loud, it sounds
just-
bad, but you got to
it-
give the
it-
context of what's in that area.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like 70
Because like
would be above X.
Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is at 66. That's like that's like an Oscar nominated film.
I mean,
66.
This also is going to be the 137th movie on the list. So that is
true.
getting
That is
pretty
true.
close to dead half as well, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm also gonna put it at 70 then. I
Fair.
do think Soul. It could go above Soul, but I'm not convinced enough that it should be. I think actually here's what I'll say. If Sylvester Stallone was in this movie, this goes above Soul. But since he's
Fair.
not, it's below.
Yeah.
That was a good Pixar film. It was a good one.
So we got 3 70s and a 73.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think when we had a 4 like that, you should probably just put it at 70. Yeah.
Put it at 70. Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Because
Okay.
we get it at an average of 70.75 anyway, so we just have to tie break with A Quiet Place, which it might lose the IMDb ranking, but I would argue we should put this above A Quiet Place anyway.
Yeah, honestly, fellas, we may have to discuss off pod though, but we may have to move away from IMDb rankings and just start using like Letterboxd because
Oh, there you go.
IMDb is
we
fucking
can
us on some of these
we
ratings.
can discuss.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for the main review segment. Cathreed goes in at number 70. Below
Not bad for a
Soul.
directorial debut.
Not bad at all. Below Soul and above A Quiet Place. Next week's review, we will be doing yet another new film. It's a good one, or we hope it is at least. It's one we're fans of. Scream 6. Scrix?
Scrix.
Scrix. Yeah,
There we go.
Scrix it is. Scream 6 is coming to theaters. An interesting time for a Scream film to release the beginning of March, but here we are. Who cares? Yeah, so check that out and join us for our review next week. We're excited for that, right, guys? I don't even know if I've seen a trailer, to be honest.
I am.
I think I've seen one trailer I couldn't escape, like on the internet, like I kind of like popped up, you know.
Mhm.
But for the most part, I haven't really watched anything. And
I just don't feel like
don't
I'm
know.
seeing a lot of advertising anywhere. But
Seems to be
Yeah.
set in New York.
oh yeah, that's right. There was that poster that you showed me.
Yeah, over under. How many New York accents do we get?
Not enough.
Too many.
You think we're getting? You think it's gonna be too many?
No,
I'm going
I
with
think
Nathaniel. I don't think we're gonna get enough.
Yeah,
We
probably
should
not.
get an entire Scream movie with all. New
But
York,
it's a
Jersey
Scream movie.
accents.
Like that would be now Scream movie New Jersey. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot.
All right.
All right, join us for Scream 6 next week. Nathaniel, do we have a 5-star review?
We do have a 5-star review, and this week it is coming from a friend of the pod, I believe, or one that may have been waiting for the shout out for a little while. Folks, if you want to give us a 5-star review, we will read it out in Apple Podcasts, and you can hear it read out on the podcast. You can say anything you want. You can be funny. You can be nice. You can be mean. Just don't be evil. But this week we have from Abby Wakich. It says,
Hey.
love, 5 stars. I'm obsessed with this podcast. Makes my days at work go by so fast listening to you guys all day. Very entertaining and fun to listen to. P.S. Hi, Tyler. Hi, Abby.
Oh,
Hi, Abby.
hi, Tyler.
Abby's one of my little sisters, for those
Oh.
of you who don't know.
Shout out Abby.
Shout out, Abby.
Love you.
But yeah, folks, it is that easy. You don't have to be related to us. You can do whatever you want.
It helps.
It does help. But yeah, give us a 5-star review. It actually helps the podcast out quite a bit as well, too.
That's exactly what helps.
And helps us show up in more feeds and be recommended and all that good stuff. So yeah, otherwise, maybe you don't want to give us a 5-star review. If you could just tell a friend about us, you know, if maybe you do like what you're hearing. Maybe you got a upcoming boxing match soon, and your opponent, you want to get into his head, and you want to give him something to listen to. Give him us. Shoot him a link. Give him a couple podcast episodes. Maybe a movie he won't like. Maybe we reviewed a movie he really likes, and we hated it. Maybe he loved American Pickle. You could just you could give
He's
him.
not a
our
good
app.
boxer if he likes American Pickle.
There you
I'll
go.
tell you that right now. So
But yeah,
you're fine.
word of mouth is generally the best way to help us grow, folks. So if you do like us and what we're about, please help us out that way. Adam, any other plugs you want to get us to?
I mean, you know, if you're not going to share the podcast, you can at least follow the podcast on Twitter at Banter Row, on Instagram at Back Row Banter Pod, and our YouTube. We're just Back Row Banter. We got the just the OG name on YouTube. Go subscribe to us there, even if you don't listen there. We would love the subscription because eventually I don't know how many subscribers we're at now, but if we get to a certain amount, we finally get like youtube.com/backrowbanter instead of a random thing of characters. So that'd be cool. Yeah, subscribe to us there. One day we'll do video, I promise. But yeah, that's it for that. BlakeHolder, where can the people find you at, my man?
Yo, Letterboxd BlakeHolder. I'll be on there logging some things out of 5 stars. Possibly putting some thoughts down. I probably have some thoughts on Scream. I could imagine one of my favorite franchises of all time. But yeah, that's all I've got. PlayStation, Xbox, Mr. Watercooler, Instagram, Mr. Watercooler. If you want to play MK, feel free to let me know. Mortal Kombat 12 has been announced that it will come out this year.
Oh, did
well,
it?
fellas.
Oh, I never heard.
Yes.
I didn't hear that. That's cool.
So yeah, quick snip on that. And Mortal Kombat 11 came out 2018, so it's about 5 years later. So Working on it for a while.
Damn, has it really been that long? I feel like it just came out yesterday.
It might be 19. It might be 19.
Yeah, it might be 19. Regardless, the fact that
yeah.
it's still even if it is 19,
Yeah.
because I feel like
it's been
MK11
longer.
just came. Really think it's been longer? I feel like that game just came out.
There's been
It feels like it's been like a decade.
there hasn't been any significant cultural events since 2019, really. So that it would just
I'm
feel like it
convinced
just
the year
came
2018 just never happened. What happened in 2018?
out. Mortal Kombat 11 came out.
Fair enough.
That's the
Yeah.
only thing.
That's my plugs. I'll pass it to we'll go to Adam.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Aish24 and on Letterboxd at Aish. And when I do stream, it's going to be twitch.tv/Aish. Don't know when that will be, but it's there. If you want to subscribe while I'm not streaming, that's cool. I mean, I'll take it. I think I've got like 2 subscribers, and they stay subbed. They're my loyal viewers. But yeah, find me all there. I'll switch it on over to, let's go to Ty.
Twitch.tv/El Trabajo87 and Instagram, Twitter, and Letterboxd are all Tyler Vidalis, VID, ALES, Nathaniel.
You can find me on Letterboxd and Twitter and Letterboxd at NathanielG92. You can find me on Instagram. Did I do that wrong? NS Gingrich is my normal one. Whoa, I screwed that up for the first time in forever. Twitter and Letterboxd at NS Gingrich. Instagram at NathanielG92. That as well. Sandpiper Tate Smiler podcast, where I talk about spooky stuff, which I'll get back to some point. They'll be
let's work
2.
on a season 2, Nathaniel.
Okay.
I've been thinking about it. It's time to get back into it.
That's true. I
get
just
back.
need to source stories. Maybe I'll work on a mood board soon, and just really
okay, mood board. Yeah, get that going. We'll
Mhm.
storyboard a little bit.
There we go. I'll search through
love
some
it.
animes for some inspiration.
There you go. There you go.
And,
Seems to work
Just
out for
talk to
Michael
me,
B.
you idiot.
Oh yeah, there's that too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's where you can find me, folks. Adam, get us out of here.
Yeah, I think that'll do it here for episode 138. Thank you all for joining us, especially if you made it this far into the episode. You're certainly my favorite type of listener. I can imagine you're probably their favorite, or the squadron's favorite type of listener as a whole. And we need more listeners like that. So share the podcast, of course. But yeah, anyway, thank you all for joining us. Join us next week for our review of Scream 6. We'll be RB.
Be excellent to each other, everyone, and we will be RB.
Thanks for stopping by, and we appreciate all the support that you constantly give us, and we'll catch you on the next one. But I got the chance to practice what I preach this week, or what I preach every week, is just be good to one another, because you really don't know what that person's going through. So it felt good, and you should do the same, and just love one another, and we'll be RB.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for the support as always. We wouldn't be able to continue this podcast if it weren't for you. And as we usually say, as long as you're doing at least one thing you find love in every day, then you're living the right way. We'll be RB.
America. Ready for another lesson.
Have you guys been inundated on your social medias with the different, or the AI versions of like Obama, Trump, Biden, and like occasionally Ben Shapiro, playing all sorts of games, fighting with you, but they're always in some sort of argument with each other. It seems to be in general. Yeah, some good versions of those recently as well too.
Yeah, it's been a good little trend. Also kind of freaky because some of them are pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely approaching that, oh shit, this is going to be a problem soon.
What I've been seeing on TikTok especially is a new filter that just basically makes you look 100 times hotter than you actually are. And like, even if you put your hand in front of your face and stuff, like, it is scarily good at tracking your face now. And I don't know, it just made me think about how no one's going to look how they actually look on the internet going forward, and you're never going to know what people actually look like. Which is,
This is
I think,
why
scary.
bars are important.
Bars, you said?
Yep, bars.
Good point, Ty.
So people can actually meet face to face and
Yep.
have human interaction before
What's
you
that?
decide that you're gonna fall in love with someone.